Hi you guys, it's Lynnea for Simon Hurley Create, and today I'm using his new Simon Hurley Create, and today I'm using his new Surf's Up stamp set along with the seafloor background from a previous release. So really, the card is all about this background technique I'm about to do, and I completely stole this from Jennifer McGuire. She did this a number of years ago, and it was something that I tried then and I haven't tried since, so I'm going to demonstrate it for you today. I have the background stamp and I placed it in my MISTI. You want to make sure that you remember to remove the foam pad of your MISTI before you add your stamp into the door. And then I added a little bit of removable adhesive to the back of a watercolor panel. And I laid that onto the background stamp and then closed my lid so that the tape would adhere to the inside of my MISTI and I would have my paper lined up just how I wanted it to be. So now I'm going to go ahead and use some of the Simon Hurley Create dye ink pads. I'm using Slippery When Wet, Overzealous, and the last one is Remember Me. I started with my light color, the yellow one, and just kind of applied that everywhere. And then I went in with the green various places and the Remember Me various places. And it doesn't matter that this didn't stamp evenly because I'm going to now spray this heavily with water. I sprayed it probably 5-6 times with a spritzer here, and then I even went in and sprayed it some more. I even dropped my Overzealous ink pad onto this with when I was creating this background. I was trying to put things away and I dropped it on there. So it doesn't really matter for this technique because I sprayed water, and my idea is to get that color moving but to still have a basic outline of those seaweed shapes. Once I dry this panel completely with my heat tool, I'm going to add this back into my MISTI just about where I had it the first time. And it doesn't matter if it's not exactly correct, I just wanted it to be in the same general area because I'm going to do some white heat embossing over top of where we originally stamped. And I couldn't get my panel to stick properly, I think because I have my background piece here is laminated, but eventually I just added some more adhesive and it stuck down pretty well. So I stamped again with Versamark ink, added white embossing powder. Now you can see that background. The white embossing powder is the most prominent thing, but you can see kind of those dark halos from the original stamping around it. And then also that light watercolor, that faux watercolor background from where I sprayed and got that ink moving a bit in my background. For my images from the Surf's Up stamp set, I wanted to use the girl head and the body that's sitting cross-legged on the ground, and I wanted her to have a drink in each hand. So there's this little pina colada in the coconut in the stamp set, but I wanted it to be flipped so that I could have the same image but opposite. So I'm using a mirror image stamp, and I just placed that in my MISTI, and I'm going to ink up my stamp 4 or 5 times before I stamp it onto that, before I transfer it to my paper. So I just stamped it 4 times like you would if you were repeatedly stamping something to build up the ink on paper. And then I just grabbed a piece of heavyweight cardstock, placed that face down onto that stamped image that's on the piece of photopolymer, rubbed it with my fingers, and then I had an easy mirror image of that pina colada drink. Now it's not perfect, but that's okay. I just took a Copic friendly marker and kind of outlined the areas, and in the end you really can't tell which one is the original and which one is the mirror image. But just so you know, it is the one on the left that I'm going to be coloring in just a little bit here. For my coloring, I'm using Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers. These are one of my go-to when I'm coloring with alcohol markers. I pretty much switch it up between these and Copics. I use what I have. So for this, my Spectrum Noir Tri-Blends were right next to me, so I grabbed them and really easily did my coloring. I wanted to have a coral bathing suit on my girl because I thought that would kind of play off of the yellows and the blues and the greens in the background. I'm just going to finish coloring everything up, and then I will use my scissors and just fussy cut out to these images. I adhered them onto my background with some foam tape, and then I also stamped a sentiment, cut the ends into banners, and then I'm just going to use my T-square ruler to make sure this is adhered straight onto my card. I'll grab my clear Spectrum Noir overlay shimmer pen and add some shimmer to her bathing suit and to the drinks, and that is going to finish this card. You can head over to my blog to see still photos and get product links to the Simon Hurley Creative Shop, and I hope I will see you next time. Bye!